Welcome back. President Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated on Thursday the Organization of Islamic Conference OIC 8th Ministerial Conference on Women. In his address to the gathering, President al-Sisi said that during his presidency of the conference, Egypt will focus on the economic empowerment of women and on dealing with the negative impact to terrorism on women. The details in the following report.
President Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated on Thursday the Organization of Islamic Conference OIC 8th Ministerial Conference on Women. President al-Sisi addressed the opening session. He said that Egypt is honored to preside over the 8th session of OIC Ministerial Conference. The President said that there is a historical opportunity to show women's true status in Islam. He said that Egypt will focus on economic empowerment of women and on dealing with the negative impact to terrorism on women. The President said that Egypt has given the status of women a priority and has drawn strategic plans to limit the repercussions of coronavirus pandemic on women. The head of state also referred to Egypt's programs to provide social protection to women and end all forms of violence and discrimination against them. He noted that Islam has given women full rights more than 1400 years ago. El-Sisi said that since the implementation of the OIC Charter, Egypt has spared no effort in providing logistical and technical support to the organization. He added that Egypt gives special importance to the establishment of research center affiliated to the organization. Similar to other international research centers, it should provide in-depth studies on means of improving and protecting women's rights. During the session, head of the National Council for Women, Dr. Maya Mursi, took over the presidency of the conference from Burkina Faso's Minister of Women, who headed the 7th edition. Addressing the conference, Morsi expressed appreciation to President al-Sisi for his continuous backing of women's rights and his deep belief of their leading role in the society. She noted that the 8th session of the conference will tackle means of maintaining gains achieved in the field of gender equality during COVID-19 pandemic. The event, which is hosted by the country's new administrative capital, will witness launching the Women's Development Organization at its permanent headquarters in Egypt. The WDO will be the first ministerial organization in the framework of the OIC specialized in promoting and protecting women's rights in all member states of the Islamic organization.
For an in-depth look into President al-Sisi's speech in the inaugural session of the OIC 8th Ministerial Conference on Women, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Huda Rizqana, a political analyst. A very good day, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Dr. Huda, it's a pleasure to have you with us here on Al TV International to have an in-depth, of course, informative knowledge about what's happening and what's going on. And how do you see the President's keenness to inaugurate the conference?
Though he's very busy and has a very busy schedule, but he insists to be on the ceremony and the opening session of this conference because he cares very much about the woman and the Islamic woman.
This is always the role of President al-Sisi. He never hesitates to be indulged and to attend any important event that takes place in the country, actually.
He's always like that, active, and he's controlling a lot of areas, and that's why he makes good steps everywhere. The thing that this conference is very sensitive because it happened after this, among this crazy situation of the corona and the hassle all over the world, but we held it successfully here to prepare also for the beginning of the presence of the Women's Development Organization in Egypt, which will be located here in Egypt. So it's very remarkable conference, and I think that we are heading a hell of directions because we have to cover a lot of areas in the women's situation all over the Islamic countries and in Africa also. And this will hit a hell of problems and let us make us have a view over different roles and give different laws enrolling in these areas in this difficult time of the year.
Okay, Dr. Hoda, President Sisi reviewed Egypt's efforts in the field of women empowerment. What are the main achievements in this field from your own perspective and from his perspective, of course?
Of course, economical empowerment is one of the first priorities which all the countries, all the Islamic countries and the women in the Islamic countries is looking for, and they are looking for systems and laws which enrich their power and make them accessible to their fortune and to get more income for their family and for the children and for the education. And, education and economic status is the main pillar of the continuous, according to the international announcement of the World United Nations, and they are keen every year to input some areas and make an advancement in certain weak points which hurt all the women all over the world.
Okay.
So I think that the economical empowerment is related also to the education. It's very important and very sensitive among this time.
Egypt heads the 8th session of the conference. What are the main issues on the agenda of this round, Dr. Hoda?
I think they were exposing the various situations all over this Islamic area, because we are suffering, the women in the Islamic country, they were suffering a lot of problems and a lot of Daesh problem and oppression and terrorism and all that kind of problems. The woman is the first victim. So how to protect the woman by law, how to put policies everywhere which is united all over these countries to give this woman the right access to her rights. She doesn't go to court, she doesn't go to, it's a direct right which you can take it and available by the government in every governorate in these areas. So this is I hope this is the most important issue, and also of course empowerment of young girls, very, very important, and the elevation of or deletion of ignorance or lack of reading or lack of education. This is the worst weak and the first point we have to conquer and to have to make an achievement in this area. And they have to decide a new policies.
Dr. Hoda, ever since Dr. Hoda, ever since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held the leadership of Egypt, he is very keen on women and the role of women in the country in every different field. And today, as he talks about the encounter of women terrorism and the importance of facing terrorism against women. How do you read the importance of women from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's perspective, and the important role of women that he really gave to women in the country?
Actually, he is hitting the truth, and he is tackling also the weakest point in the society, which is terrorism, which attacks the women's rights. Everybody take advantage over the woman, especially in the area where the terrorist is still vivid and still acting. So the first victim is the woman and the young girls and the young, small, even the very, very small girls. So you cannot imagine how much errors and how much pressure over the mother when she can see her daughter, which is 9 or 7 years, took from her and get married to somebody and by force. So empowerment of the woman and education of the young generation is the main weapon to every woman in this Islamic world.
In light of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's leadership, I think all of this shameful acts towards women and girls and youth, women, of course, girls, have stopped. Dr. Huda Rizqana.
Yes, of course. This is not in Egypt, but I'm talking about other various countries in the Islamic world.
In the Islamic world.
We are protected by a lot of laws, and we apply and ask for a new laws to protect more. So this is the thing that we are talking about. It's mandatory that each woman can read and know what are the weak points. She's asking for more protection, and the president is ready for that. So I can see that he's God's gift to Egypt and to all the Muslim women in this Islamic world, because he is very, very much enthusiastic and devoted, and he's sincere. When he starts a step, he insists to complete it.
True.
He's not making a story. No, he is sincere and an achiever. He makes policies, he makes steps towards achievement. He tries to empower the woman to help also the society to raise, because the woman is the second main pillar in any society all over the world. You cannot deny that.
Dr. Huda Rizqana, political analyst, we thank you so much for your informative knowledge. Thank you so much for giving us an in-depth look about what's going on. Thank you so much for joining us here on AlTV International. And we move on, dear viewers, with the news bulletin, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that Egypt and Sudan requested a session of the UN Security Council on Ethiopia's dam as a result of Addis Ababa's intercessions and attempts to impose a status quo which impeded the negotiations. This came during phone talks with President of Congo, Felix. The phone call tackled the developments of the Ethiopian dam file ahead of the UN Security Council session, which will take place on Thursday. During the phone call, President al-Sisi praised the efforts of the President of Congo as the current head of the African Union to sponsor the negotiations among Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia. For his part, the President of Congo praised Egypt's efforts within the framework of the negotiations path to ensure its success. The United Nations Security Council holds a meeting on Thursday to discuss the dispute over Ethiopia's recent unilateral decision for the second filling of its dam. Prior to the meeting, Minister of Foreign Affairs Sameh Shoukry urged the Security Council to shoulder its responsibilities and press for a binding and just deal with Ethiopia and the filling and operation of the dam. Shoukry also met on Wednesday with his Sudanese counterpart Mariam al-Sadiq al-Mahdi in New York to continue preparations for today's UN Security Council session. The top diplomats held talks with UN Secretary General to stress Egypt's position on the Ethiopia's disputed dam issue. The World Health Organization hailed Egypt's efforts in producing 1 million doses of Sinovac vaccine manufactured by the state-owned Visera company. It also lauded Egypt's plans to inoculate 40% of the population by the end of 2021 and hailed the country's plan to achieve self-sufficiency from anti-coronavirus vaccines to become a hub for exporting vaccines to Africa. Egypt on Wednesday reported 161 new coronavirus infections, bringing the total number of cases to 282,582 people since the outbreak hit the country in mid-February of last year. The Health Ministry also reported 26 new deaths, bringing the total number of fatalities to 16,332. The ministry added that 798 patients were discharged from hospitals, raising the number of those who have recovered to 216,217 people.